You know what was crazy? Like, so if we're gonna go down memory lane about like that year's class, which again was my senior class in high school, two of the best, and this is sort of dates me a little bit, but two of the best quarterbacks in the country were also like elite players in other sports. And you don't see that as much anymore. But you had Ronald Curry, who I believe was the number one recruit in both football and basketball.
Correct, he
Right?
was,
Like,
yeah.
That's true.
I think he was in both. And if you remember, there was a quarterback from the next town over that got a lot less attention that wound up being the number one pick in the draft, and that was Michael Vick.
Yep.
3 years later. And then the other one is somebody you're very familiar with, and that was Drew Henson, who was excellent in football. I can remember going to Michigan football camp my senior year in high school and how he was treated like royalty there.
Oh, yeah.
And
baseball.
He was obviously a great baseball player.
Yeah, and obviously he was Mr. Michigan in football to the point where he wound up splitting starting gigs with Tom Brady. I mean, and that which is part of the Brady building, of his legacy.
You know what drives me crazy about that story though, Rich, is that everybody gets it wrong. Like, it was, the story at the time was not like Brady's getting benched for Henson. The story at the time, as I remember it, was Tom Brady is holding off Drew Henson because he was one of the most high-profile recruits in the history of that program, one of the most high-profile recruits in the country that year, and like he was from down the street. So the fact that Brady held him off was the story at the time, right? You remember that?
I do.
It wasn't that like Brady sucks and he's getting benched. It was like, oh my God, Tom Brady is holding off this like force of nature, Drew Henson, which sounds crazy now, but that's what it was at the time.
No doubt. I mean, Lloyd Carr essentially had to play Drew Henson. I mean, he got him there, and the whole state was like, well, let's see this kid. Like, he's this huge recruit, and the kid from San Mateo didn't really have much, cred in the state of Michigan, and so they had to see him, and Brady was holding him off. And he was better than Drew Henson to the point where Lloyd's like, screw it. He's got to be the guy. And I remember being I was in Syracuse, and they swapped starting quarters, Michigan Syracuse. And I believe you were in that building, Chris, as well for that game. I was
sitting in the end zone for that game.
I mean, I was there with my brother-in-law and watching Brady just play his head off. And it's just like, okay, I guess we got to see Drew Henson anyway, because he's Drew Henson, and Brady just took it over, man. And I guess it was held against him in being 199th overall. I guess,
Yeah, it's crazy too, because like people forget how good Henson was. Like, because I'll never forget. Like, so my junior year, being in the closed end of the horseshoe, like our fraternity block was in like the left corner of the end zone, and seeing a throw that Drew Henson made to David Terrell. Michigan beat Ohio State that year. It was 2000. And Henson rolled right and threw the ball from like midfield to the back corner, to the other corner of the end zone to David Terrell for a touchdown. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this guy's going to be an unbelievable NFL quarterback when I watched that happen. And I think if Henson had come out that year, if Henson had decided to play football instead of playing baseball, and he'd gone back to Michigan in 2001, I mean, as I remember, there was a chance he might have gone in front of David Carr as the first pick in the draft in 2002. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of rewriting of history when it comes to what that situation actually was.
Albert Breer here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.